Get on the ground, now! Now just stay quiet and I'll just be in and out. No one's gonna get hurt. Wait. Why is the red light on? Oh. Hiya, fellas. I'm just on the job and, I wonder how long this transceiver's been on. Say hi to the people listening in at home, hostages. Tough crowd, guys, sorry. Well, let's just get this over with then. Some people see the world as black and white. I'm not talking about color blindness or not owning a color television set. No, what I mean is the definition of good and evil. But there is a belief of the gray area. The times when your ideals can get murky or even lost. Often this happens out of desperation, like a hostage making for an exit. Take this robbery for example. Rob a guard blind and he'll be desperate enough for cash. Pretty much do anything. Even let me in. Yeah, I mean, it was fairly easy to pay him off. And hell, I'm even helping out the computer manufacturing company make a killing off the insurance claim. Wait a second. I'm rambling a bit, aren't I? Sorry, I just have a lot of pride in my work. I enjoy watching those moments of despair, those turning points in life that make us question everything we've done up till now. Everyone experiences this once in their life. It's when we decide to be a man or a monster. Take this kid's story for example, the one I'm about to show you. A telling of what happens when you reach that point, that gray area. The breaking point, so to speak. While I make my getaway. Some people in this world see winning a fight as a sign of power and dominance. To me, fighting seems to be incredibly immature. In my eyes, fights are for cavemen, those too stupid to see that their fighting is infantile. My whole life, I've always been a peacekeeper. My friends would bring me in to settle disputes, and I continued to settle disputes peacefully up until my very first fight. The first fight I ever got into was when I was 15 years old. I never looked for trouble when I was growing up, but I suppose I was one of those good kids. I made good grades and was respectful to everyone, even that bitch science teacher of mine. Well, it was homecoming night and the entire town was at our high school for our big homecoming game. I brought a beautiful blonde girl, Kyla, I think. Well, Kyla had just broken up with this guy named Josh just a few weeks before. Josh was an animal. He was hairy and he smelled like shit. But on top of that, he was huge. I'm sure that Josh was at least 6'5", while I was only 5'8". Well, I suppose that Josh wasn't completely over Kyla, and he must have got pissed off when he saw us together. While Kyla and I were sitting on the bleachers, Josh walked up and took a seat directly behind us. Some sort of altercation went on between Kyla and Josh, but I just tuned them out. The lack of silence here was starting to make my mind twist. The roaring crowd mixed with the barking argument between Kyla and Josh was too much for me to endure. Without speaking a word, I got up from the bleachers and walked out to the parking lot. The parking lot was dark, windy, and filled with cars. Once the roaring crowds had subsided, I took a deep breath and leaned up against the chain link fence that surrounded the parking lot. I still remember the wind chill from that night. With his footsteps concealed by the blowing of the wind, Josh had snuck up behind me. Without warning, Josh had grabbed me by the back of my shirt. He threw me to the ground and kicked me in my ribs, but it didn't hurt. Perhaps this was due to the adrenaline. Without any fighting experience, my primal instincts took over. I kicked and punched, but Josh was so much bigger than me that it seemed to have no serious effect at slowing him down. I was being badly beaten by this animal when something in my brain clicked. I twitched and pulled a ballpoint pen out of my pocket. With a twisted smile, I sank the pen into Josh's chest and repeatedly stabbed him until the pen broke into shattered pieces. With the last shard of broken plastic, I slashed out his left eye. Letting out a cry of misery, Josh backed away, soaked in his own blood. With tears in his own voice, Josh shouted, I'm coming back to finish you off, you little shit. twitching and filled with adrenaline. I said in a chattering voice, "Oh yeah? I'll be waiting." Filled with anger at the fact that another person would violently attack me, I found the truck that Josh drove. I finally got a use out of all those lectures about cars that my dad had me sit through. I cut the brake lines on Josh's truck. Josh never came back to finish his fight. After that night, I truly began to see how immature fighting was. That was my very first and last fight. You see, fighting is childish and somebody needs to keep the peace. And I'm the peacekeeper. But for some peace lies in the grave.